Hello and welcome to another episode of the Expert CPG Commerce Podcast. My name is Ryan Flynn, the founder and CEO of Expert CPG Commerce, where we help brands reach more customers on Amazon and beyond. And today I'm super excited to welcome my friend Dustin Gersch. Dustin has worked with us for a long time, and we're helping him with Amazon. And Dustin is the founder and owner of Paleo Powder Foods, and they make a paleo-based and other specific dietary seasonings. And he's got a very interesting story and shares a lot in terms of his knowledge, what he's learned, but also some of those low points, right? Because that's really something I commend him on, is just talking about, the truths of entrepreneurship. Everything's not always a rosy picture, and, sometimes success can get the best of you. So we definitely cover that and a lot more, and lots of great just takeaways here that you can have. And if you are looking for help with Amazon, right, and that's something that we do, we help brands with Amazon. And one of the things that we do for a lot of brands is we do an in-depth audit. And with that audit, it's not just like, we don't just look at your page and grade it and that's it. It's not just running it through AI or anything like that. Humans actually take a look not only at your page, but also behind the scenes. And we provide you with an in-depth audit. And we would love to do that if you're looking for help with Amazon. So just go to expertcpg.com/audit. And you can find out more information there. We do have a limited number of slots. We do these audits more because it is time intensive on our end, but we would love to see if you would like some help with that and see if we can help with that. And now let's take it over and have the conversation with Dustin Gersch from Paleo Powder. All right, welcome to another episode of the Expert CPG Commerce Podcast. I am pleased to welcome someone I've known for a long time, Dustin Gersch from Paleo Powder Foods. Dustin, how's it going?
Going good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show today, and super excited to have you and talk to you and for people to hear your story, right? So you're definitely one of the folks I thought of when it came to think people we want to showcase and highlight their story as a founder, right? And and just hearing directly from you the story of Paleo Powder Foods and how it's been. So yeah, tell us, just give us the quick synopsis, the quick snapshot of Paleo Powder, what it is. Then we'll dive into the origin story and everything like that.
So yeah, Paleo Powder is a diet-specific, all-purpose seasoning and breadless breading. So our mission statement is flavor your health. So we're an all-purpose seasoning, breading to add flavor with people who have dietary needs, from healthy, clean eating to salt-free to autoimmune or IBS. We have a flavor enhancer for you.
And you started the company when? What year was it?
Unofficially 2011. 2012, yeah. And officially in 2013.
Okay. So take us back to that spark, that story, right? Of either, the unofficially right beforehand, like give me, tell what was your story, your origin story of the company and how it came to be?
Well, my background is I've always weighed from the time I was 17 years old till the day I was 28, 29, I'd weighed over 300 pounds. I played football in high school. Here in Texas, right? Yeah. Football's big here in Texas. Being big in Texas is a big thing, right? And so I'm from a small town of 5,000 people, kind of a German community. And so barbecue, noodles, potatoes, beer, that's what it was about, right? And so that's how I grew up. And I was 28 years old. And I went to and this is kind of how it all got started, right? Here's that little spark. But I was 28 years old, and I went in to get my annual physical. And the only reason I think it is so memorable is that I went in for my annual physical, and all the doctor talked about was how fat I was. Right? And just a little education piece for anybody out there, whatever a doctor writes down, that's what your visit was, that's what your visit was. So what should have been a free annual physical ended up costing me at a time in my life, right? When you're 28 years old, you usually don't have a pot to piss in or even a pot, right? And so it was like $125, $150 for a weight consultation. Little did I know, as pissed off as I was in that moment, kind of the trajectory where things would go. So what he basically came out and said, look, you're too young to be this fat. I'm probably shortening that for what he said. But what I heard was you're too young to be this fat. As you get older, right, losing weight is going to be harder. And so he just, the doctor just kind of said, hey, what is your What's your pain points, right? Is it spending money, right? If you go to a membership that's $10 a month, right? Not knocking any of those gyms, but if you go somewhere it's $10 a month and you don't want to wake up one morning, it's $10. Who cares, right? And also, what do you enjoy? And I enjoyed group workouts, so started doing CrossFit. And at that time in my life, no kids, married. My wife and I, our hobbies were barbecue competitions. And we had traveled all over Texas. We'd been to the American Royal in Kansas City. Kind of an obsessive personality, but right, I was all in. Once I started doing CrossFit, right, I started surrounding myself, and I love CrossFit, but at the same time, just group workouts, right? Humans, we're not supposed to be alone. And so it was just, for me, it reminded me of football, being on a team, and other people that I got to joke with, other people that were also in the same, situation. I was trying to lose weight. Like, right, every workout sucked anyway, so it kind of gave you some camaraderie, either during it with people cheering you on or afterwards, like high-fiving because we got through the suck of it. That's what started, and I lost weight. I went from 315 down to 292 pounds. I've always been able to do that. It wasn't until about 6 months into it, because, of course, every time I've tried to do a weight loss thing or try to watch what I eat, it's always around the damn holidays. So, of course, I do that in the middle of the year. And so it's like, okay, for the month of July, we're going to do 30 days clean. We got again, no kids in your 20s. 4th of July is usually a fun weekend, right? So, of course, my ex-wife and I both signed up for it at the time. And it was $50 a week. We had a coach that weighed us at the beginning, did a 30-day elimination, right? So no dairy, no grains, no processed foods, and had not really a menu of, hey, this is what you're supposed to eat. It was more a paper say, eat this, don't eat that. So it's pretty straightforward. That first 30 days for me, I went from 292 down to 277. I'm now 29 years old at this point. I think either 28, 29 at this point. The last time I weighed 277, I was 16 years old.
Wow. Must have felt great. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it was amazing. It was amazing. And so that was my first, right? I guess my first eye-opening moment for me about how food and what you actually stick into your body or into the machine, right? You get out what you put in, right? So that's where, for me, that changed. In that same CrossFit gym, right? That community I was a part of, the coach wanted to do their annual party and wanted us to barbecue. We were going to barbecue and use the seasoning that we'd been using for our competitions. The coach was like, hey, you need to make your own. Most seasoning has sugar, gluten, MSG, other fillers. My wife and I at the time made the recipe, and it turned out, I mean, most of the people, it was a boat party, so everybody was drunk on the boat anyways, but they said, we love the, and that was the first batch that we made. And then, being the entrepreneur that I am, just started trying to sell it at the gym. It was originally called Smell Our Pits, because that was the name of our barbecue team.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So the original, I actually have a bottle in my office, but the original name was just labels we bought online, printed off the computer. It was called Smell Our Pits Rub, and because that was the world we're used to, right? Is spice rubs for meat. And the CrossFit coach said, hey, I see what you're doing. It tastes great. Why don't you come up with a catchier name? And that's kind of how Paleo Powder started. So it was all through my weight loss journey. And then there's more to it. But yeah, I mean, there's more to kind of learn. But this has been a heck of a journey. But that is the origin story. That's how everything got started.
Yeah, it's awesome. No, it's a great story, right? A great entrepreneurial story is always like, solve from some problem or some event in life, right? And it's funny how you yourself can remember, definitely times in my life, the same kind of thing where you can remember crystal clear everything that was said, everything that went on, right? You can put yourself back in that room with that doctor. And I guess really like, so, you were finding, it sounds like people at the gym, you were finding like, because and I've made seasonings for stuff before, and it's kind of a pain. You got to measure everything out and do things, right? So you just wanted to give folks an easy, convenient, like grab it off the shelf, sprinkle it on your food, or season your food with it, right? Just making it kind of much easier, especially it takes a lot of time and effort anyway to do any kind of meal prep or, eat healthier, obviously. But I guess you were just looking for a convenient way, right? That's what that resonate with people, sounds like.
Yeah. So like, again, we're not everything. We don't want to be everything to everybody, right? Because I've got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old now, right? And so life just takes over. And so the reason that we stuck to kind of being the convenience factor is because, again, we're targeting towards people that have dietary restrictions, right? We're trying to, so there's so much already on their plate that they either have to measure, buy, organize to be able to add flavor. And the way our seasoning works, and I don't know how it, but our seasoning is very versatile. So if you stick it on vegetables, it has a different taste. First, you put it on meat, beef, chicken, pork, seafood, whatever, right? Every seasoning we've done, we ate on eggs. That's how we tested everything. We put it on scrambled eggs. So the whole point was, and it is what we were doing. So after I made the seasoning, we did the barbecue cook-off. I'm sitting there at the house and still cooking my food. And I actually have most people that are working, right, have a protein shaker. And my seasoning was in my protein shaker. And so when I cooked eggs, spinach, bacon, whatever I cooked, I just sprinkled it over. And so as anybody that's watching this podcast or anybody that's out there that has tried to diet, right, either for weight loss or for health reasons, most of them stop because it gets boring, right? Tired of the chicken and broccoli, right? So the other point of our seasoning, one, not to kind of just be there to add flavor without any of the recommendations or other stuff in it. It was also to make the boring less boring, right? So if the chicken and broccoli tasted better, hopefully maybe we helped you stay on your diet or whatever it is another, 5 days, 10 days, month, whatever that may be. And so the convenience factors is definitely a part of it. But I think it was even more important with the clientele or the customers that we were trying to actually differentiate and serve.
Yeah. And so you started getting traction with it, right? It sounds like probably just started growing a little bit organically, word of mouth and things like that. What was like your first, when you were like, oh man, this is real. Like, this is like all of a sudden, this is not just a hobby anymore. This is like this is a business. Like, what was your first moment like that?
So a lot of this goes back to my coach at CrossFit. I mean, that community was a huge, huge launch pad for me. Coach Adrian actually said, hey, there's a conference coming to Austin called Paleo FX. Okay. And so never doing an expo before. I show up with like a card table, some seasoning, and some homemade cards that we made that, of course, like in any business, right, had a dictionary on it, right? Had more stuff on the card.
Right.
Didn't need it, but just kind of immersing myself in that community and kind of getting both positive and negative feedback, right? So a no is not always a no, right? A no is just a no to a yes. And that's just how my brain thinks. I'm a very coachable person. I'm a very flexible person. And so at that conference, we originally started this just for people that are healthy, right? Our original seasoning, original seasoning or pink seasoning, it's for everybody that just wants to look better naked. That's it, right? People, like majority of people that just want their clothes to fit better, right? Yeah. That's it, right? And so at this conference, this was the first one we took, because we went to it for several years. But that first conference, there were a lot of things that we learned, that there are people that have dietary restrictions, not because they want to look better in their clothes, right? They've got dietary restrictions because of health issues, either with their gut, either with their immune system, whatever it may be. And so that conference actually added some validity to what we were doing, because it again, where we did not see that there was a focus for healthy people, as we learned about other people, and since we were hyper-focused in it, since we learned about other people that have either heart issues that are trying to have zero sodium, right, that heart healthy, people with autoimmune issues, people with IBS, irritable bowel, they're definitely not being served. And so that was for me kind of like, okay, this is not, there's going to be success here. There wasn't success at that moment, but knowing that the market was there and that those people were being underserved, we're not trying to compete. We're not trying to compete with all-purpose seasoning, because there are some other seasonings out there. Like I I will say that we have a seasoning that we use here from Giddings, another seasoning company that we're friends with. We used to buy 50 pounds at a time for barbecue competitions because it's a sweet rib rub. It is amazing. And I will use it on every competition I use, and I'll do a shout out to Harley Sweet Rib Rub. It's amazing. Hadn't cooked in a couple of years, did a cook-off this summer in my hometown, got second place in ribs out of 100 teams, right? So we as a brand, as Paleo Powder, we don't want to be everything to everybody, but we do want to be everything to the people that need it.
That's awesome. So you went to PaleoFX, you probably got some more traction there. It started to feel like a real business, right? All the excitement and also the pains that go along with that, and the and the learnings obviously too. What would you consider like your big break? Like when all of a sudden did it go from okay, it's a business now to okay, wow, here we go kind of thing?
For the first year, so from 2013, and any other entrepreneur listening, right? Some of this stuff takes this has been a side hustle for me. Okay, I'm a financial advisor, financial planner. That's my day job. That's how I pay all my bills, right? So I always tell an entrepreneur, hey, side hustle as long as you can until the money makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't, right? And we'll get to that in my story. But from 2013 till 2016, it had been online retailers selling on our own website very minimally, but then me just hustling from CrossFit gym to CrossFit gym, right? Around the Austin, Texas area. 2016, we got into H-E-B, which is a local store, a big grocery store, but only here in Texas. And so H-E-B brought us in. Again, through CrossFit connections, I had a buddy that was a manager at H-E-B. And said, hey, you need to meet this guy. I met this guy. And this guy said, well, you need to meet this person. I met that person. Sometimes not reading, since I move really, my personality is to just move really fast. One of my goals for 2024 is to slow down, because moving fast can be good and bad at the same time. And so, yeah, I actually had an email that said, hey, we don't want to take you, or something like that. And I just wrote back. I didn't read the email. I just wrote back, no, that's where we want to be. And the email back was, okay, sure, we'll get you in. And as weird as that is, yeah, we got into H-E-B. Then once we got into H-E-B, and we learned the process, right, of how to get into a retailer and kind of the pros, cons. And again, at that moment in my business, I didn't know what I didn't know. And getting into the grocery was great. That was our big moment to say, okay, hey, if H-E-B took us in, wow, where can we take it from here? So that in 2016, so I started in 2011, 2012, making it official, the company's name and everything. The LLC was set up in January 2013. We didn't get into a big retailer, which I think kind of showed us that, hey, what you have is real, because of how hard it is to get on the shelf sometimes. So June of 2016 was our big, I say, where we actually took off, and then the story only goes up and down from there.
Sure, as it always does. We'll definitely get to both those things. So let's talk about like tactical questions, right? About when it comes to, I'll kind of go over some just I guess categories or some elements of kind of CPG businesses, right? And you can weigh in on those kind of elements. When it comes to finding the right co-packer or the right production, right? What's your advice, or your, how do you view that, or what's some learnings you've had from that?
I think like everybody, right? You start off by making stuff in your house or your garage or your barn or whatever you have, right? Wherever you're tinkering, which is fine, right? And like for me, I started with a little jar, right? Or like a bowl, and then like a little jar that I could shake up. And then I moved to a 5-gallon bucket, and like all this is in my kitchen. And then I just started Googling for a co-packer, right? And I'll kind of talk about my story, then I'll kind of wrap it into what I know now. Like if I was starting, so I went to a co-packer. I already knew what I wanted. I already had the recipe. When I went to our co-packer, which we've been with for over a decade, it made his life a lot easier because I knew what size bottle I wanted to do, right? I had the recipe. I knew how to make his life easier. All he had to do was tell me, hey, here's our minimums, right? Can you afford that? and at that time, it was like, hell yeah, whatever. I can, because even though I was doing it myself, there was so much startup cost to actually hit that efficiency. And I don't think there's any way I've been able to do it. So first off is looking for a co-packer that'll take you. Okay. A lot of co-packers are going to have minimums. So if you know what you want to make, right, and maybe you don't even know where to start, sometimes it's just calling, looking around, look at the back of packages or products where it might tell you where it's manufactured, right? That manufacturer might be the co-packer, especially if we're talking about, on the food side, right? And then it's just asking the questions, because it's a partnership. It's a partnership between me, the brand, and my co-packer. And I'm just going to speak specifically about the co-packer. I have, knowing now what we should know if someone's out there brand new. It's just having those questions to say, hey, what if I am successful, right? What's your minimum? Flip that conversation and say, hey, what's your maximum, right? If this does take off, right? If this harebrained idea that I have that no one else can see, if it is successful, will you build, what is your capabilities now? And then even if it's not the capabilities now, are you willing to grow with me, right? So it's having those conversations up front, and it's a sharing of power. So it's 50-50. It's like a marriage, or it's like any relationship, right? You want to keep that equilibrium at 50-50 the best as possible, but it's going to sometimes shift to 60-40, maybe 70-30, but it can't get out of that, because then the whole relationship messes up. So I've been very, very straightforward with my co-packer, sometimes probably too much, but it is a relationship, and the more they know and the more you understand how they work, that always makes it better, because there's volume that they have, there's buying power they have, there's floating of the money they have, right? So you're not holding inventory stuff. So having a co-packer is very important. Is it a must-have? It depends on your product. There might not even be a co-packer out there that does what you're doing, right? So then you're going to have some other headwinds that you're going to have to face, but there's usually somebody out there that is doing this already, and just having the conversation, say, hey, do you have capacity to take on somebody like me, right? How do I make your life easier? What do I need to have? How do I need to have my shit together to make your life easier, right? And then just asking the questions. What's your minimum? What's the minimum amount that I need to do? And then again, this is how my brain operates: is what if it works, right? What if it works? What's your maximum that you do, right? So finding a co-packer might be hard. Again, I would say, kind of not to go back to paleo effects, but if you are trying to have a brand, you've got to build that community with other CPG brands, right? Even if they don't do food, they might do toothpaste, right? Or they might do sparkling water, right? Or they might do cereal. I've got a ton of connections, and that's just my network to be able to text, call, and say, hey, I've got this. I need packaging. I need bags. Who do I call? Who are you using, right? So a lot of those conferences and events, or even podcasts, have given me a lot of info, but we need to have our own friends on speed dial to text and call, and farmers markets, whatever you can do to network is kind of how a lot of this can lead into a distributor or lead into a co-pack.
Yeah. No, you're exactly. I mean, the right network, right, is kind of worth its weight in gold, right? Because, like you said, you can, you've got that one specific need, right? And you've got a perfect audience who can address it and answer it and give you multiple views and multiple recommendations, right? Or, pitfalls, things to watch out for, everything. So totally agree. Any type of business, especially industry-related groups, are fantastic for that kind of thing. So let's keep it going on kind of the tactical questions and do the same kind of thing. I'd love to hear you mix your story into it and also kind of, what you've learned along the way. What about various sales channels, right? And in the mix of those sales channels, you've got, obviously having success in e-com and retail. Tell us about that. Tell us about the story from kind of, traction in retail and growing that, and then also some things you've learned along the way.
Yeah. So I'll start off with, so high level, 2016, right, was our launch pad for HEB. I was at another show in 2017, and I was talking to another person that had seasoning, and the guy, a little older than me, I don't know how much older, but just a little older than me, kind of took me under his wing, saw that what I was doing was different, liked my attitude. Again, I would tell any entrepreneur, be coachable, right? I don't know what the hell, we're the smartest at whatever, but be coachable, be flexible. This guy put me under his wing, and he just started speaking lingo. And he's like, well, do you know what your turn rates are? Right? And I was like, I don't even know what the hell that means. He's like, well, how many units do you turn a week? And I was like, I don't have a clue. What the hell are you talking about? And so he actually gave me, and I still have it today, he gave me a little thumb drive, right, that had some industry turn rates for seasonings, right? I think, I forget the name of the spin. I think it was from Spins, right? So he saved me a couple $1,000s by giving me this little thumb drive. I took that information and I went back to HEB and I said, hey, and again, most grocery stores are pretty private about that stuff. But I reached out to my broker, because I had a broker that got me into HEB, and said what our turn rates were. And when you look at if you look at the industry for seasoning, which is a very, very slow category, right? Anybody listening to this or watching this knows that seasoning sits on your shelf for a long time. So, so I had that data, and then I took that data, and I want to say, looking back, that data might have been a curse, because I think it gave me some false confidence, right? I think this is actually the first time I'm ever saying it out loud as we're talking about this. But yeah, I think it gave me some false confidence. And as an entrepreneur, right, when you have some success, right, you want to roll with it. At that time, again, we were on our website, we were in HEB, we were in a couple retailers. Before we even got introduced, I had somebody reselling my stuff on Amazon. I had zero clue how the hell Amazon worked, right? But I am a big believer in the omni-channel. I actually used it the other day in my financial practice, right? That's everything I've learned, I've been able to, take it with me. And so in the omni-channel approach, right, like, I knew that the other people, because there were other people in my space that weren't doing the broad diets that we were doing, that there were other companies that were very siloed. And so we tried to take that still niche but broader approach to cover all diets, not just one. And I had a day job, right? We had a young family. So I tried to go retail was my strategy, right? Versus trying to fight online, because there were already some people online that were killing it, right? So why jump in with them when I can go where they're not? And so taking that turn data, and kind of getting into other retailers was a huge growth in 2018. But it was now looking at it, 4 years later, 5 years later, 6 years later, damn, right? 5, 6 years later. No, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It adds up.
But going back 5, 6 years later, I wish I wouldn't have done it, right? I'd have more money in my pocket. I'd probably have more hair. I'd probably have less gray hair. But education costs money. And so I went the retail route. I think if I could, and again, going the retail route, if anybody's listening to this that may not know that, it does cost to get on the shelf. It does. I don't say you don't have to pay to play. It makes sense, but you have to have the money. And in 2018, I launched it 3 months by myself. And you and I we were talking at this time, right? I had a baby. I had a 1 or 2 year old at the time. I was building a home. I was the only income earner for my family. We were launching into Sprouts nationwide, which is 200 and some odd stores, Whole Foods nationwide, which is 400 stores, a different distributor, right, in Maryland. So, and I'm in Central Texas, and then launched into Walmart. It is, I joke about this, but I'm 100% serious. It's a blessing that I'm here today. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on me. There are a lot of nights at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, like, how in the hell am I going to fulfill this order? Right? Where the hell am I going to get the money to pay this? And so that was my growth, right? Over the past couple years, we've lost retail. So I am living proof to say a dum-dum Now I don't want to discredit this because we actually got some new product, got some news yesterday. We're actually launching 2 more products in HEB, right?
That's awesome. Congratulations.
I think we're a little too far ahead of the curve. So now that the business is, anyways, where we're at.
Yeah.
But the HEB retail relationship works. It's here in our backyard.
Yeah.
But we're no longer in Walmart. We're no longer in Whole Foods. We're no longer in Sprouts. We're no longer having a distributor, right? Education costs money, and I spent probably $500,000 on that education. And if I can save anybody that, where we've kind of pivoted to it, and you know this because you've been a huge part of our journey, is Amazon, right? Amazon is 100% our online focus. Even on our website, you can buy on our website, but we drive everybody to Amazon because we don't want to fight the current, right? We still look at an omni-channel approach. That omni-channel just points everybody to Amazon.
Yeah. You've got to meet the customer where they are, right? And you can't, we can all sit here and hope and pray that they're going to buy from our website, right? But obviously, typical D2C conversion rates of what they are, the customer's going to look on Amazon, right? They're going to hear about the product on Instagram, and they're going to go to the Amazon, search bar and type that product in. And so you've got to meet them where they are. And that could be in retail. That could be on Amazon. It could be on your website, right? Could be on social, but you just got to meet that customer where they are. And so it's good you've had that omni-channel approach and that foresight to kind of see that and do that, right? And I appreciate you also sharing your story. That was going to be one of my follow-up questions, but I think you just answered it. Like, what are your low points, right? I appreciate you just sharing that and being vulnerable there, because I think it's one of those things that's not really talked about as much probably in entrepreneurship as the difficulties, right? And the everybody loves to paint the rosy picture on social media and talk about their wins, but those dark days can be really dark. And I always say entrepreneurship is a roller coaster, right? And the highs are highs, and the lows are low. I think a lot of us wouldn't have it any other way, even with that being said. So let's kind of take the flip of that. We talked about just kind of a low point a bit, but what's something you're most proud of? I mean, you've built this brand. We just talked about the highs and lows of it, but what's something that you look back on, and again, it's hard to believe it is 2024 at this point, but in all that time, what's something you're most proud of that you've done with the brand?
I think it's some of the feedback. I mean, there's I guess we feel like there's a commitment, right? I mean, this year, 2023 was a huge year. We lost retail, but we pivoted, right? I think a lot of the stuff that I've learned being an entrepreneur, especially in the food business, I don't know if I'd ever do another food with everything I learned. But if I did, or if the opportunity ever came up, I would definitely take a different approach. But no, I think the most proud is people that have used it for over a decade. I actually have vendors. I actually have some vendors that have been buying from me since 2013, 2012. And so that is kind of a cool deal. I mean, we get letters. I mean, which is weird, right? But we get handwritten letters mailed to us every once in a while, and we pin them up to our cork board, at the office. It is just, hey, I appreciate you making this product. And so there's a little bit of that. Probably times when I probably should have just said, hey, economically, this doesn't make sense. Shut the door, right? The responsibility, to the customer to kind of say, hey, there's more, there's more to life than money, right? And if I'm not impacting the bottom line, financially, getting those responses, getting those letters, and actually having an impact on somebody's life that I might never even meet, right? I mean, those are the biggest wins. I mean, those are the biggest. I will say, yesterday was a big win. Natalie's our office manager and kind of the manager for paleo powder, right? That's what she does every day. And she sent me a text literally yesterday, right? Sends me a text that says, "Oh, did you see that email?" And
classic text,
right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I in the way that I interpret it was that's bad. Oh gosh, how bad is this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I wrote her back and I said, hey, I said, oh crap, do I need to read it? And she's like, oh, I see how shit could be a good or a bad. and so I get on the email, and HEB had brought in we wanted to change out our original seasoning because they had original and pink. They had two products that were identical except for salt, right? So we went to them about a month or two ago and said, hey, to help y'all, right? That's one, again, for entrepreneurs, right? You want to show the buyer how you can help them. It ain't about you. And so going in and saying, hey, we think we can make you more money if you kick our one product out, which will complicate, and add our salt free, because that's a bigger market for y'all, right? There's a lot of people walking the aisles that only have another salt-free option out there. I'm not going to say their name, they're advertising, but they only have one other option out there, right? So we can be a disruptor and be an option, great. And then I was like, and then with Natalie, we're sitting in this meeting, and the FODMAP movement's been around for over a decade, right? For people that have IBS. And so I told the buyer, because again, we only had like 20 minutes in the meeting. And I said, screw it, we're here. Here are two other top selling brands. These are the two best sellers for us on Amazon. Okay? That's what I said. They sell for $10.99 a bottle. The grocery store sells it for $6.99 a bottle. Okay? The buyer, the coolest part of that meeting, talking about a big winner positive, because I made that joke earlier, like I think we were too far ahead of the curve. In that meeting, the buyer's father-in-law, if he were to have onion or garlic, would not be able to get out of bed for 3 days. Our FODMAP seasoning does not have any onion or garlic in it, right? The assistant buyer that was with her said, hey, I've got a friend that has the same thing, right? So because they could directly relate to it, and even what I've told them is like, hey, because I saw some other competition that I compete with on Amazon and in a store with that were before me and after me in these meetings. And I straight up told her, I said, hey, we're the only brand coming into here today that I can almost promise you we're the only brand coming in here to talk about your customer and how we can serve customers, and not about a flavor profile about chicken, fish, steak, whatever, right? It got their brains working. And so when I showed them these unique products, and so now they're bringing in FODMAP, right? And one of the other things they said to any other entrepreneur, I leveraged my Amazon data, right? I leveraged my Amazon information, because these retailers, what she told me was, hey, those are buyers. They've had customers reach out and say, hey, I want to buy from you, H-E-B, right? But I have to buy from Amazon. So Amazon is a direct competitor to a brick and mortar store. So that is a huge, so the success that I've had on Amazon with y'all's help is that was a huge win yesterday. You know, when I think, you know, kind of the company's going like this, right? And kind of how we're keeping it still going. That email yesterday was kind of like just a huge win behind the sale to be like, okay, no, what we're doing, the people we're impacting, right? The lives that we can touch, other stores are seeing it, right? So now that I've been through that experience, we know what conversation. So we, like, for instance, we don't plan on doing too much advertising or marketing like a $1 off or whatever coupon in store, because it's not going to have that big of an impact, because we don't have to. We are the only product on the shelf that serves that community. We now have to figure out, how do we let people know at H-E-B that product's there, right? That's going to be our biggest challenge. But just, I think the two biggest wins for me, even if the company were to fold tomorrow, right? The lives that I've impacted, the personal phone calls that I've taken, right? Because my phone, ignorantly for me, my cell phone is on the internet, right? And no one calls. I might get one. I'm serious. I might get one call. But it's just crazy to have gotten calls the other night from people that are like, hey, I'm overweight. I'm trying to lose, you know, right? And it's just like the relationship you and I have, the relationship I have with other people in the community. Those are the big wins. I mean, it's the journey, right? It's the journey. It's not the destination. It's the journey. And so, yeah, that's been the biggest wins for me. I mean, if that's what makes me happy at the end of the day, if there's any, if this ever shuts the book, right, and there's no more chapters, the journey, the people, the clients, the little wins to, you know, kind of like, hey, I was right. You know what I mean? Other people saw the vision that I saw. We're just stuck in here. those are some just, God, they're just such memorable wins.
They are. And I think you nailed it on the head there, right? And I don't know if I don't want to say it's age, but I would say experience, right? The more experience I think we all get as entrepreneurs, as humans, I think we realize there's a lot more life than just, obviously the money in the bank account or just, the sales of the product on the shelf or whatever it may be, right? Whatever you're measuring things, there are some bigger things out there, even in business, that can matter. So that's fantastic. And going back to something you said too about product discovery, I totally agree with you. The door swings both ways now. I mean, people are finding products on Amazon and then looking to rebuy them in store. So like, it's not just vice versa where they might buy first in store and then rebuy on Amazon. It works that way too as well. But especially we talk about like regional groceries, right? Like an H-E-B or maybe like a Publix, right? Somebody might find you in one of those, and then, they might be vacation down in Florida and buy something in Publix and say, wow, that was a great sauce or seasoning, whatever it was. And we want to buy that again. And they turn to Amazon. But again, it can also go the other way when they're strolling the aisles at the store and they go, oh, we need more of that. And it's right here. So I totally agree with that. So, you talked about already what's next. It's exciting. Congrats on the H-E-B news. But what any final thoughts or parting words for just, learning, taking your experience, Dustin, and just sharing with the community, CPG founders and professionals, and just other companies, play in that space. Like any parting kind of, from your experiences you'd like to share, any parting guidance you'd like to share?
I think keeping it simple, right? If everybody watching this podcast probably has heard of Tito's vodka. How many flavors do they have? One.
Just one.
They got one. They got one vodka, right? Some of the most successful people, you make one product really well, you make it bigger, you make it smaller, you make it a multi-pack, right?
Yep.
Once you've kicked ass there, you make your second product. You make it bigger, you make it smaller, you make it a multi-pack. You talk to Ryan, and you work on taking those two products and making a third bundle in different.
Yeah.
But keep it simple. Find a mentor, right? Find someone that's been through it. I think some of the biggest learning lessons I had is no one ever I had people say, well, that's not part of our path. No one stopped and kicked me in the teeth to say, this is our path. We only have this much money, right? No one ever told me that. So keep it simple with product development. Make one good product that's badass, sell the crap out of it, right?
Yeah.
After that, with everything I learned, and if you heard anything I said, stick with Amazon, stick with your online, right? Do stuff that you can control. Be profitable, okay?
Yeah.
I'm living proof to say you have to be profitable at the beginning. There's no path to profitability. It will never come. I'll be wrong on that, but I think it's the hope of profitability is what kills people. Okay? Be profitable. Know before you do anything with a big store or a retailer, like, hey, how are we getting you the product? Oh, there's a distributor. There's a middleman. Ask as many questions as you can and almost talk yourself out of it, right?
Yeah.
And so besides keeping it simple, have a plan of what you want to do, know where you want to take your product. And then the third thing I would say is make sure you have partners. Ryan, you've been a great partner for us with Amazon. I didn't know what I didn't know when I got on with you. So keeping it to things you can control, make sure you're profitable, and then have fun. Just because it might not be successful.
Yeah.
It might not be successful in the sense that you might think for money, but the friendships, the memories, the education, it's worth money. It's worth the journey.
Awesome. Those are great words to live by. So thank you, Dustin. Last but certainly not least, where can people find you? And most importantly, maybe where can they find paleo powder and the various products you have?
Yeah. So our website is paleopowderfoods.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Paleo Powder. We're also on Amazon, Paleo Powder. And then if you're in Texas, we're at H-E-B in Texas. And we're at a couple other stores. I think we might still be up at Wegmans up in the Northeast. But if not, tell you, try the product, buy it online. If you like it, go tell your retailer. That's usually how that works. We'll just have better knowledge of how we're going to address it in the future. Yeah,
for sure. That's awesome. Well, thanks, Dustin, so much. Great conversation today. great knowledge sharing with the community. So thanks so much. Always great talking with you.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks so much to Dustin Gersch from Paleo Powder. What an awesome conversation, and really appreciate him sharing the highs and lows of entrepreneurship and some of his knowledge he's gained over the years of growing his business. And I think it's applicable to both folks that have been in the CPG industry for a long time and also people that are just starting out. So again, thanks to Dustin for all his words of wisdom. And hopefully you've enjoyed the podcast. And if so, please, rate, review us, subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to this. That's how we get into more people's headphones and we get into more people's, YouTube playlists, and we can't wait to reach more folks. So that's how we do that. So please like, subscribe, rate us, and we will see you here on the next episode of the Expert CPG Commerce Podcast.